We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest this morning, News Channel 5 Programming Director Mark Binda. We've got another clip to show you, but before we get to that, since Mary's been waiting since the beginning of the show, let's squeeze her in real quick here. And Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi, Mary. What can we do for you?
Well, I'm a sweet and loyal also with you, but you're not all I love. I love sitcoms and somewhat, but I'm really crazy about reality TV and game shows. But I was thinking about downtown, not that we really need promoting, but interviewing a show interviewing people down on the street and the band members and how they got their start and where they're from and things like that.
Sure, something, when we do something like Words and Music, when we used to have that program that did so much talking about songwriters, and then Talk of the Town does stuff like that right now, where they get into the background of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's the talking the real people kind of thing. I mean, there have been shows like that in the past. I mean, anything can be done. I guess you just need to think about how you're going to sustain something over, if you're going to do it every day or is it going to be once a week. Yeah. I mean, the songwriting thing is good, but then there's a finite audience for that. So, there's people who would really like that, and then there's a whole bunch of people who would, find that kind of dull. So you walk kind of a fine line.
And about the game shows, I mean, of course, Wheel of Fortune's been around forever now. Is it NBC or ABC? Which is the one that's got Michael Strahan and Alec Baldwin hosting some shows?
ABC really struck gold with the game shows this summer.
What do we think? Has that worked? I mean, the shows hosted by them, I mean, the games, they're the old standby. They're not new game shows.
No, they're not
the old
new.
Games, yeah.
They're not new. If you can get a game, the good thing with the ABC thing is they're only doing it in the summer, and they're pretty heavy with celebrities. So I don't know that that's something you could sustain, every day. You could probably do it. I mean, if you can get the right game show, it'll run for 100 years. Family Feud's been on the air since 1976. I mean, Jeopardy's been on and off the air since the 60s. Right. I mean, those shows are amazing, but the good thing about a game show and the bad thing about the game show are pretty much the same. The good thing about the game show is you know what to expect. It's the same format every day. The bad thing about the game show is you know what to expect. It's the same format every day. And for younger people, that may be boring. I mean, not that we always have the program for younger people, but I even know if I'm watching Jeopardy, I know like it's, between Double Jeopardy and Final Jeopardy, there's going to be 5 minutes of nothing but commercials and little interstitials, and I can go away for those 5 minutes. You know? So the game show format becomes really predictable at some point.
So it's good and bad. I see what you're saying on how that. It's just interesting how they come back around. All right, we've got a show here that I have a couple of friends of mine who love the original. So they're older, and younger crowd will say, "Oh, this is a new show," but MacGyver's a reboot, right? Right. And it's coming up, and we'll have a clip. But talk maybe a bit about that. I mean,
MacGyver was a show that ran in the late '80s, early '90s. It ran on ABC, and it generally ran in front of Monday Night Football. So it had a lot of men who watched it because of where it was played. But MacGyver is one of those things that just become part of the lexicon. I mean, our engineers, if you ask them to kind of come in and fix this microphone or some of this, I'll try and MacGyver it with some tape and baling wire or something like that. So MacGyver has entered the public conscious in terms of just fixing stuff. But this shows a little bit of a twist because it looks like they've added, well, you'll see when we see the clip, they look like they've added a team surrounding him. So it's just not MacGyver by himself.
Well, like for a lot of people, this may be, depending on how old they are, the first time they've seen this idea of a show. But
or they've seen the Saturday Night Live takeoff, MacGruber.
All right, let's take a look at that clip.
This is day one.
Mac's back there saving the world or making sure he doesn't stub his toe or anything.
Where's Mr. Wizard going?
The very first scene of this is me hanging out of an airplane. The fun part about being on a show like this is the fact that everyone knows MacGyver is a verb in the dictionary. It's like the American James Bond. How do I look? And then I get to MacGyver stuff, so as you can imagine, that's pretty fun.
one of the main ingredients of this reboot is the soul of the original show. What it meant to be MacGyver, what it meant to live in the world of the Phoenix Foundation, all of that is going to exist. But we're going to see it a little bit differently.
What exactly do you do, Mr. MacGyver?
You hack computers. I hack everything else.
What I admire most about MacGyver is just that, you know, he's a very sort of intellectual character. He uses his brain instead of his brawn. He's the action hero that we don't really see much these days.
MacGyver, he brings the smarts, the ingenuity.
Always be prepared, right?
You have Jack, he brings the really brute strength. You have Thornton, the leader.
Interesting on that. And I remember the original MacGyver. Right. And those of you may say, well, it's a little different in that, you know, this guy seems like he's more like James Bondish.
Yeah, he's younger. Yeah. You know, but he's using his mind to come up with solutions, but he's got, you know, this team around him, a computer hacker. Then George Eads from CSI is kind of the muscle, and a little bit like, you know, runs a little bit of the Mission Impossible movies with Tom Cruise, where he's the main character, but he's got these other people surrounding him, or Scorpion, which has done really well for CBS, where, you know, they put them in these impossible situations, and they've got to use their brains to figure a way out of it.
Yeah. I think
it's great. It's a great lineup because they're putting on Friday night at 7 o'clock, right in front of Hawaii Five-0, which is right in front of Blue Bloods. So, you know, those shows are all comfort foods. I think, you know, if you like 5-0 and Blue Bloods, this is the perfect start to the evening.
Yeah. Is there? I'm trying to think. Then, what programs recently then are going away? What has gone
for CBS? Well, of course, Good Wife ended after 7 years, so that's gone away. Last year, Limitless was a show that was based on a movie. It ran for the full season, but that's going away. That was Tuesdays at 9. We have some shows that are not necessarily gone away, but will be coming back later in the year. Amazing Race is one, and that was on Friday night to 7, where MacGyver's going. Undercover Boss will be back later in the season.
Okay, so and we have the staples again, the CSIs, right?
No, there's no CSIs,
that's right,
but we have the 3 NCIS.
I mean, I'm sorry, sometimes I mix those up. NCIS, exactly. And then of course Survivor and Big Brother. It's just amazing. I still remember sitting at the original, you know, the beginning. The whole beginning with, who was it? Richard Hatch.
Richard Hatch.
Who won the first one, and then I know how many hybrids there have been since then.
What are we on, 34, I think?
Golly. And a lot of people don't remember, I mean, that long, but that was, I mean, reality's everywhere, and it has been for the last decade, but that was the first. And no one really knew how it was going to go. I mean, I know there had been some little hybrids on MTV and stuff like that, but
that was the first big one on the network.
The very first big network one was Survivor, and then it just exploded.
Right, and then everybody's doing reality. And, you know, the ones that have worked and have stood the test of time, they may be with us for a really long time. It's hard now. There haven't been too many that have been introduced lately that have worked. I mean, people continue to try. People continue to try and rip off Survivor, and none of them ever last. You know, and there's been 100 ways of doing American Idol. Now, The Voice caught on, but there's been other singing competitions that haven't done so well. But Survivor is one of those shows, you know, that was the cultural zeitgeist, or whatever you want to call it, that everybody watched that first season. And then the numbers, you know, tailed down as it went on. But what we've noticed now is over the last couple seasons, Survivor has kind of flattened out. And it's this acceptable number where it does really well Wednesdays at 7. CBS is happy with it as a nice saleable number, nice demographics. And as long as it maintains that number, it could be around a really long time.
Yeah, why would you mess with it?
The people who love Survivor, like me, it's my favorite show. You know, we'll watch it forever.
Yeah, I know you guys enjoy watching it. I haven't watched as much of late, but boy, when it first started, I was all over it. Listen, before we go to the break, let's just bring this up. Man with a Plan. It's one we'll try to squeeze in real quick.
Man with a Plan. This will start later in the season. Right now, what we've got on Monday night, because we have Thursday night football, Big Bang Theory is running at 7 for the next couple weeks. Kevin Can Wait, 7:30. When Thursday night football goes away, Big Bang is going to move back to Thursdays. So Kevin Can Wait will move up to 7. Stay with me, folks. And then Man with a Plan will come in at 7:30 starting October 24th. This is with Matt LeBlanc. You know him as Joey from Friends for all those years. It's a very similar plot to Kevin Can Wait. He's a contractor whose wife now wants their youngest kid is now going into kindergarten, so she feels like she can go back to work. So he's decided to shift his hours a little bit to be able to take the kids to school, pick them up, that kind of thing. So it's kind of that fish out of water thing, but it's Matt LeBlanc.
He's had so many different shows and spin-offs and here and there.
He's had a show on Showtime that I never watched. I think called Episodes or something like that. And
well, let's take a look. Let's look at that clip.
Headphones off, everybody line up. From now on, you're gonna hang your backpacks up and close the door. Any questions?
He's a fish out of water in his own home. He works hard, he's a contractor, his wife runs the household, and he goes out and he's the breadwinner.
My character decides that she's gonna go back to work after 13 years of staying home with the kids. I'm going back to work.
Yay!
Adam's all up for it and supports her in this decision, and he finds out what it's really like at home.
Are you laughing at me?
I love you.
Love you too.
Oh, poor bastard.
You didn't hang up. I can still hear you.
We just really wanted to channel all of our experiences into a show.
We both work long hours, and so we were getting home, and the kids were delightful and happy to see us, and we kissed them goodnight, and we were like, we have the best kids in the world.
We took a year off.
We took a year off, and what did we discover?
Our kids are not the little angels we thought they were.
Yes.
So, guys, how was school today?
I'm hungry and thirsty.
Mommy had snacks and ice-cold waters every day.
Here, have a Listerine strip.
Hello, kindergarten parents. I'd like to welcome you all to the kindergarten parent mingle.
What? You got stuck in here too, huh?
I'm a stay-at-home dad. 4 years now, it hasn't changed me at all. Oh, you got a little something.
Hey.
All right, there you have it. And it just seems like another one of those sitcoms with the lines and how it goes and the family.
Right.
Wholesome. It's half hour, right?
It's half hour sitcom. I mean, it's a little bit of a tough time period. You're going against The Voice and Dancing with the Stars, but at the same time, it's an alternative to reality shows in that time period.
When they get stars, and I don't know how big Matt LeBlanc is considered to be anymore, but when they get stars sometimes involved with shows, have you heard, scuttlebutt, they get miffed sometimes when they look at where the network's going to put the show because it's up against something and it's not going to give them a chance, or does that happen?
Your friend Jim would know a lot more about than I would, but I'm sure there's a lot of ego involved in it and stuff like that.
There has to be. I mean, when you're talking about scheduling and where it goes, that can make a difference sometimes.
I remember
to give something
he was telling us that Angela Lansbury got really ticked off when they moved Murder, She Wrote out of that Sunday night time period a couple of years ago, because it had worked on Sundays, then they moved her to Thursdays. I forget the example now, but she really got mad at CBS for moving the show.
Yeah, sometimes the big stars like it a certain way, and if it's a success, they don't want you to mess. It's just interesting behind the scenes on a lot of this and how it plays out. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, our final segment with more. If we can take a few of your calls if you'd like, 737-7587 with Mark Bender right after this.